Hello.
Welcome to the Pritchard Pub. Tonight we have M. Anthony Harris. He is an author and he is also a panda breeder.
And a Yeti hunter, right?
Yeah,
Panda
pretty much.
breeder / hunter.
Snow leopard connoisseur.
How you doing this spooky season?
I'm doing all right. A little busy, but pretty good.
Same. It's been quite the quick October. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Is Halloween very different in China from the US?
Yeah, it's kind of seen like a foreign holiday here. So you'll see it more in like the bigger cities. But where I live, it's just kind of like a novelty thing. So not many people actually celebrate it.
Oh, okay. So it's not trick-or-treating everywhere and dressing up.
Yeah.
No. You'll like if you were in Shanghai or something like that, you'd probably see it. But here the most you get like some like I've seen some friends in nightclubs and things like that, but like outside normal kids just going around trick or treating, you don't see that.
Interesting. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
Oh, we have some wicked dog farts over here.
They always follow us into the office when we do a podcast.
Yeah, they're under our chairs, so that it just like seeps up at us.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's gross. Sorry.
Yeah, we just got planning on going out trick-or-treating with the kid, and I'm releasing spirit animals, and been doing some video editing, a little design work. Been learning a lot over here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mm.
He's gonna teach me what he knows if we ever get time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's finding time is one of the hardest things to do, especially after you have a kid.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Do we have 2 dogs in here?
I think we do. I think there's a dog per chair.
Y'all have 3 or 4 dogs or just 2?
Well, we got
a
German Shepherd Pit Bull mix, and then a Pit Bull mutt that looks just like the Shepherd mix.
He's definitely not Shepherd, though.
No.
It's weird.
No, he's something else. And then we have a foster from the rescue that we volunteer for. His name's Rusty. He's pretty much just a pit bull. Rusty.
Yeah, he's big.
He looks like straight up. He looks straight up like the dog from my Spirit Animals cover. That brown.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Nice.
He has the color of a golden retriever, but he's short hair, and he looks like a pitty mixed with some kind of Rottweiler for sure. And our dog Rolo, I don't know what he is, but he doesn't have that thick, bushy rope tail like Orcus. He has a ring tail that kind of curls up, but he also has the pointy ears, and he's tuxedo, so he has the white on his chest, black with white.
Yeah, nice.
White feet, yeah.
Yeah, I've never owned any dogs. So
yeah.
For me with pets, I like my friends to have them so I can visit them and then my friends can take care of them.
That's what people say about kids usually, but yeah.
So you like dogs, you haven't owned one yet.
Yeah, I'm more of a cat person, but I like dogs too. They're pets in general. I'm just like, I'll let other people have them and then I'll visit them.
Yeah. We've both had dogs, cats, and birds and other stuff growing up, so we're both pretty big animal people.
So yeah, Rusty basically looks like this guy over here.
And you might be able to hear him yipping because he's crated right now, so he's mad about it. He's yipping.
He's complaining. Yeah.
You can probably hear us talking about him too.
Yeah, he can sense it. Yeah, but
and sorry if you hear our roommate weak coughing.
But yeah, this month I've been taking note at my whole writing process since I've been doing this free thing on my Substack, or planning it out actually. And it's kind of escalated into like audiobooks and and stuff. I got the first 7 episodes planned out, and it's gonna be fun.
Nice. Are you gonna narrate them yourself, or?
Yeah. Katie here is gonna be the voice of Zan, that the little boy lead. Figured I'd take a page out of the ancient Greeks and Romans, and and who would do a better. She could do a better little boy voice than me. I'll just say that. It'd just sound weird if I tried to do it.
The actor for Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
She's a lady, and she's been doing him for 30-something years.
And then not only that, basically all the children on Dragon Ball. They all, like, none of those are dudes.
Yeah, I think that's Nancy Cartwright, and she does, I want to say, like, Millhouse and stuff, too.
Yeah, Millhouse, too.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
So that's what gave me the idea. And it got me really excited, because I was just imagining doing the different voices for the dialogue, and just, like, having the narration super dramatic, Since I'm the one doing it, I can just make it really dramatic.
Text him to cough in another.
It doesn't matter.
That's really loud. I hope it's not on the cast.
Are you picking up my roommate at all?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, because we can hear things, and I know StreamYard compresses the sound.
Well, I could hear our baby from across the hallway and living room before.
Different frequencies, I guess, but
yeah.
But yeah, I've been kind of looking forward to our chat here, so I could ask you about some of your writing processes. Like, how does a story start for you? From an idea to like the final book, I guess.
Well, I think my process is extremely simple and extremely straightforward. Basically, I'll just have an idea for like a book. Sometimes it really depends. Like, my ideas come from a lot of different places, but some of my ideas just come from like a cool title idea.
Yeah.
Or I'll just have like ask myself a what if question, and then I'll be like, oh, what if this happened? Ooh, that would make a good book.
It did happen.
And what's that?
And now it did happen.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so I get the main idea, and then a couple of times I've tried to like outline it a little bit. And then I realized that I don't follow my outlines, and I'm not the planner type. You know how there's like how they say plotters and pantsers. Yeah. I am very much not a plotter. Like, for me, I grew up telling stories like to my siblings. I have five other siblings. So I just grew up telling stories to my brothers like basically every night. Awesome. So for me, my writing process is I get the idea, and then I start on page 1 and write from page 1 till I end.
Yeah. It's kind of like I kind of imagined so you're kind of like the opposite of me. I mean, I consider myself a mixture of both, but I'm pretty also self-aware that a lot of people would take one look at what I'm about to explain and just like be like, yikes, you know what I mean? Because it kind of turns into this whole like ladder of outlining, essentially. But I really believe that at the core of my writing, I am improvising and pantsing as well. At the very core of it, I just build up a scaffolding, so to speak, and just I pave a road and then follow it.
Yeah.
Nancy Cartwright does do Bart Simpson. I don't think she does Millhouse actually, but she does Nelson, Ralph, Todd Flanders, and others. So I don't know, but
that's cool.
That is her name.
Nancy Cartwright.
Nice.
Talented lady.
I just want to make sure I'm not just saying some inaccurate stuff.
Since Nancy was brought up again, real quick, Katie will be basically doing all of the major female voices, and whenever a female voice is needed, she'll be doing it, and then she'll be doing the first major villain, who's spoilers, a female. So she gets to argue with herself a little bit on episode 1 while I narrate the whole thing. So it'll be a nice, crazy little step into our world over here. But essentially, like, I make a series of outlines, you know, and it sounds constraining, but it actually gives me more flexibility. At least I feel, right?
Yeah.
Because if I have like a nice path laid out for me, I can kind of analyze the path and see where the road is a little bumpier, right? And then we can take detours, or, you know, when the road's a little smoother, cruise a little longer, if that makes sense. Like, hey, this is kind of nice. I'm going to hang out here for a while. And so it's not like I'm forced to go along with these outlines. You can always adjust the pacing and deviate a little, and as long as you do it properly, because it's like when you bind yourself to an overly strict, like, this must happen kind of thing, like, and he says the exact words kind of stuff, that's when you can overplan things. That's where I agree with some people where they're like, oh, I could never plan, it makes me feel this type of way or whatever. I understand that feeling, you know, that over planning feeling or whatever. But it's like, if you use broad strokes, like my first outline, right? It's extremely broad strokes. It's like, let's say you just have your title, your cool title that you said. And by the way, for creators listening, titles are incredible. I'm realizing, especially the further along I get as a writer, or like a novelist, I should say, because I've like always been a writer. But the further along I get as a novelist, the more I realize that like a title, you can get a whole story out of a freaking title, big time. Yeah. Oh man, you get a powerful, like, I have a word bank, I call them story seeds. Most of them are titles, you know. I have some concepts in there, but it's just like titles.
But I've gotten multiple books just from titles.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, I'm realizing I'm gonna have a lot of fun with titles with my spirit animals thing, because you know, seemingly endless chapters, each of them needs a title, you know. I'll have fun making some art for each of it too, and like I really like to foreshadow things with how I name it, so I don't know, those titles are going to be pretty wild, I think. But I digress. Let's say you just have that cool title idea or whatever. You need the broad strokes of what's going to actually happen in the story. So like, what if forests could fly, right? I know you have that, right?
Yep.
Shout outs to Kahuna. He just showed up. Yo, what up, Kahuna? 3 of my favorite people, he says.
Aloha, I should say.
Aloha. Our residential coconut farmer.
Yes, and he is also 3 of my favorite people.
Kahuna. Oh. Anyway.
Cahoons.
Woo!
So, when
He's
have
a coconut breeder also.
Coconut breeder?
He breeds them.
He breeds
and hunts them.
Only the purest coconuts. He hunts them too.
We have the panda breeder and hunter and snow leopards, and then the coconut farmer breeder and hunter.
Yes. And then we are, of course, hunter, breeder, and hunters.
Yeah, and Kahuna's just came out with a new line of coconut extract lubes. So check that out.
Check out Kahuna.
On kahunalube.com.
Kahuna brand.
.org.
Keep your kahunas fresh.
And lubed.
Yeah. So when you got this cool idea, right? You can take my first outline, which is the broad strokes, and it's like, this happens, then that happens, and then it ends like this. It's essentially, it begins like this, and then that happens, and then it ends like this. You know what I mean?
People-sized?
I kind of like to call them plot skeletons.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And then you write the story, you flesh it out, and put the muscles and innards in it.
Okay, can you lift the
That's actually the best way to probably put my method, actually. Is it really does start off like a skeleton.
Come on, buddies.
Then I add like the flesh, and then Put the hair on it, I guess. It would be the next. I don't know. Or like the blood.
The hair on its chest.
Yeah.
You can get up here. Come on.
Come on, Orky. Up.
Come on, buddies.
Up.
Come on.
The whole world's watching, buddy. Get up. You better get up
the
here.
Most puppy dog eyes ever. Hold this and I'll get him.
All right.
Come on, buddies. Come on. Get up here. I'll give you a treat-o. Come on.
Hi, doggo.
Dance with me. Come on, dance with Mama. Get up here. Come on.
He was complaining before.
Come on, Rolo's growling at you. This is getting old.
There we go. Up. Come on. All the way up. All or nothing. Come on. No, he just wants to sit up here, I guess. Halfway.
Want some attention?
Yeah.
All they get and all they want. You're so cute.
But
if we both leave the house, Rolo gets anxiety and occasionally will rip up a pillow on our bed. So Andy left a freaking down packed throw pillow, a pretty big one in the room, and there were little feathers all freaking over. And they have sharp stems on them, man.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare to clean up.
Yeah, some of those are really pokey.
Yeah, not fun. Dang dogs.
Do you use story skeletons then?
I've tried it before, and yeah, basically I just I tried it and then I was like, yeah, I'm just not using this. I'm just gonna, and like, for me, I'm just really straightforward, really linear guy. Like, I know some writers, they'll write things out of order. They'll write like the end and then work back from there. And there's a lot of writers who they'll write a scene and then write another scene and then they mix and match it till it's a story. But for me, I'm just I literally start at the beginning and write till I write the end. And I just write things in order from beginning to end because that's the way my mind works.
And I can empathize with that too, because I don't jump around either. I start at the beginning and I go to the end. I just also have I need a little headlights in front of me.
You want this to light on them, buddies?
Because I've had it.
For me, I try to drive with headlights, but my night vision's too good.
It's too good, yeah. No, I respect pantsers, man. I was thinking about this earlier, and that's why I brought up the first outline or the skeleton, as you referred to it. Is because it's well, my step one is
can lie down
well, what happens? Beginning, middle, and end, broad strokes, story skeleton, and then your step one is chapter one. Let's
go.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. Step one of my writing process, chapter one.
Yeah, usually when I start a book, literally all I know is the main idea, and then when I start typing, then the first page, here's the character. What's his name? I don't know. I'll just make up something on the spot that sounds cool. And then that's pretty much how I might write most of my books.
Well, there may not be, how do I put this? The secret ingredient may be Velveeta, right? That's the secret sauce is Velveeta, but the upside is you can make a lot of dishes and they all taste good. Right?
Yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying? So it's there may not be some sort of special secret ingredient. You just sit down and go or whatever. But the upside is many books, and then even time to paint and make music like you do. So
yeah.
That's, a lot of writers wish that they were that prolific. I've heard so many booktubers, for example, talk about rule number 1. Don't compare yourself to Sanderson just because he's so prolific, so it's on everybody's mind, just how often you're writing and how often you're putting stuff out,
Yeah. I think one thing to note though with folk like Sanderson and a lot of people are they're dude, you're so prolific. And I'm not really. I just built up a backlog before I started releasing a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
It may take 4 or 5 years for you to become prolific, if that makes sense.
All right.
Gotcha. Like it builds up.
We're gonna have to start playing this when they're not home.
Oh, just no roommate noise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can hear it or not, but it's really annoying to me.
I don't think they can, but
Coughing
I
and
understand.
yelling right below us, yeah.
Anyway, Kahuna says, you can only be a pantser if story structure and the flow of stories is so ingrained in you that you do it without realizing, which I think is kind of what you do here, bud.
Yeah, like for me, I am a pantser. Like that's pretty accurate because like I know that I'm that way because I grew up telling like stories to my brothers every night for almost 10 years straight. Or at least 5 years. Yeah, maybe 10 years. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But like basically every night, you know, there was a story about terrorists taking over the school we live next to, and we had to like, you know, use makeshift weapons like what's that called? The fire in the bottle one.
Molotov
cocktails and
yeah.
you know all that. So you know your kid telling stories to your brother of us fighting terrorists,
That's
taking
fun.
over schools and camps and things like that.
You work the muscle. You ever play D&D?
Exactly.
You ever play D&D, boss?
No, never played it.
You'd be a good DM. You would.
Probably. My problem with the TTRPGs, like I don't know if I've told you this before, but I have aphantasia, so my imagination is literally it's blank.
This is why I chose you to talk about writing, like the process, because of the aphantasia. What now? For the listeners, explain what's blank again.
So aphantasia is basically the easiest way to describe it is you just have a lack of visual imagination. Like if somebody says visualize something, you'll have a downloaded concept of the thing in your brain, but you don't see a picture of it. So if somebody sees and says like visualize an apple, I'm like, I know what an apple is. I have the data for an apple in my brain, but I can't make a picture of it.
It's like the opposite of whatever Tesla had. Because like Tesla, I don't know if you're familiar, he could hyper visualize things in his brain.
Yeah.
So like as Edison is explaining his version of a motor, you know, to him, he's visualizing it in his brain, taking it apart all different kinds of ways, putting it back together in different ways, adding things all in his mind, like as it's being explained to him and stuff. And then he like shows up next week or like the next day or whatever it was with like a better version, you know? He's somebody explains a flip phone to him and he shows up with an iPhone the next day. You know what I mean? So, and it's because he was able to, he just visualizes it. And some people are like that. And I think, you know, I've never heard anybody complain about your writing or really like, I mean, you got in trouble with Twitter there for a little bit, but I think everybody gets in trouble with Twitter at some point. That has nothing to do with your writing, is my point. So I would venture on saying there's something there with you too that I mean, saying the lack of an imagination, of a visual imagination, sounds one way, but really, when you think about the extremities of these things, like there's real advantages to it. I think, like and my whole point with not hearing any negativity or whatever is that the proof is kind of in the pudding with you. You know, like nobody said anything bad.
Yeah. Like sometimes I might have a little bit of trouble with like descriptions of things, but overall, like, I mean, I think one thing I'd have to reread some of my works, but I think sometimes I'm a little light on the visual details of things. But at the same time, like the thing that I get most praise for is like really writing really exciting action. And people are like, yeah, it's like perfect. It's like a great balance of intense and brutal, but not too gory. And
And that's
so it's
good.
it's kind of interesting because I like if I didn't know I had aphantasia, then I heard it and I read my writing like as somebody like from an outside perspective, then I'd be like, oh yeah, I can kind of see it. But I
Yeah.
think if you don't know I have it, you would never guess it, if that makes sense.
Right. Especially if you're like aware that the visual details are the thing that's lacking or whatever. It kind of makes sense
Yeah.
when you hear about the aphantasia thing. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Another fun thing for me is like I also don't have the inner monologue. I don't have like the audio imagination either.
The audio, imagine so you don't hear the conversations going
Nope,
back and
not
forth.
at all.
Oh, dude, that's like this might have been where I got wind of this whole thing with you. Is we might have
Mm.
been talking about dialogue, I think,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's quite the opposite for me in that regard too, where I'm literally hearing the people talk to each other, dude.
Mm.
It's crazy. Like I had a lot of fun, like with spirit animals, for example, because the main character's a little boy, so I got to just like jump in the mind of this kid and make fun of the villains, essentially. Tell them they
Mm.
stink and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
It gets. I think. I think that style of imagining the dialogue is going to lend itself to the audiobooks also, especially with getting guest voice actors. And I already lined up the first. I got everybody booked for all the free content basically. So
Ah, nice.
yeah, I just got to get the lines written, and as soon as I send them to Katie for editing, basically I'm gonna also, before they're like edited, I'll give them, because like in the editing I'm really mostly looking for grammar, you know.
Yeah.
So especially like with this free stuff. So as I send it to her, I'll probably send it to the guests too, and then so they have more time to try to get the lines down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then that'll actually give them room to change something that they think maybe sounds weird. A
Yeah.
little collaborative thing.
Mm.
Because
Nice.
one of the guests, I'll say he knows how to do an accent pretty good. So like, if I send him some lines, and then he tosses some special sauce on it with that accent, uh, it potentially it could change a word or two here and there. But
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I can always edit that. It's fine. It'll just be on my Substack, so no biggie.
Mm. Will you upload the audiobooks to YouTube as well, or?
I think I'm gonna try to upload them like everywhere.
Mm.
YouTube would be the main source because I would like them to drive in more viewers to try to help us push towards monetization if
Mm.
possible. But I wanted to put out audiobooks anyway, so
Mm.
and like start practicing that a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I don't know if you have an audiobook guy or not, but like I noticed a lot of people in the Iron Age community, for example, there's a semi lack of audio content.
Yeah.
I'll give shout outs to JVP Music because he put out basically, his contribution is like a virtual video comic, with
Mm.
audio. It's an audio comic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So quite the opposite of what I'm saying, but I can't help but notice that some, especially some entry level authors,
Mm.
just don't have access to it, I guess, because
Yeah,
one
I
reason
don't
or
have the
another.
equipment for it, that's sure.
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. You do. I bet you do. I bet you. Do you have a mic?
No.
Oh, okay. That would be the main thing. Even a cheap
Yeah.
one. I mean, because you can always get close like this, and you
Yeah.
can get clever, you know, with the
Yeah.
with the setup. So
So, yeah, we'll see if I can do it in the future. I was, yeah, that's one of the ones I was like, maybe I'll see about the AI option for that. Use the, because like I know one of my brothers, he reads really slowly, but he's read one of my books, like one or two of my books, and I just sent him a PDF, and he used the TTS, the text to speech, to read my books.
I was wondering about that because I wanted to use something to listen to my books before I send it off to editing.
Yeah, I think you can, like, there's a couple free programs. I think you can just like do like a chapter at a time and just, copy and paste the words onto it and then listen to it to see how it flows. One thing that helps me with editing is I literally just read it aloud to myself as I'm editing it. And then if I feel something doesn't flow right, I'll just be like, oh, and like I'll be like, I can't think of an example right now, but basically I'll just reread it and I'll be like, no, that doesn't sound right. And then switch another word and then reread it. And I'll be like, yeah, that's good.
Or like you noticed, this happens to me all the time. You notice that you used like the same word twice.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's
That
so
happens
common.
to me all the time too. I think that happens to basically every writer.
Yes. Man, what's a good example? The horse reared up, then the sky went to the horizon. I don't know, like using the word the, or
Yeah.
they knew that they would, they, you know what I mean? Yeah. It gets, it's fun to catch though. It's really satisfying. It's almost like popping a zit. It's like,
Yeah.
even though none of those are technically wrong, right? That's the
Yeah.
thing. They're not technically
Yeah.
wrong.
It's the action verbs that catch you.
Yeah.
You have to be like, oh, I just used this one. Like he crashed into, like his fish crashed into his face. He crashed to the ground. You're like,
And
oh
then
dang, I can't use
his
that
shield
2
made a
times in the
crash
same
sound.
sentence.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Dude, I bet somebody could write it like a super cringy, free thing that just like with enough of an understanding of the rules, you can break them kind of thing. So like using the word crash, for example, over and over again, you could get really clever with that.
Yeah.
You know?
I just heard the other day that do you know the Dresden Files books?
Yes. I love them.
Yeah, I heard that the dude James Marsden, who's doing the audiobooks for them, like he sent a suggestion. He was like, "You use this word too much. Maybe you should, in your next book, you should use it less."
That's somebody to listen to. The
So
dude who does your
he,
audiobooks, you listen
yeah,
to him.
but Jim Butcher, he put that word 6 times in one page just to mess with Marsters in the next book.
You know, it's a guilty pleasure of mine with my book. Phonetic, what's the word? When you're using alliteration, I think it is what it is. Phonetic alliteration. When I'm in the middle of describing something, bro, and then like I hear it, like I'm a vocalist and a lyricist.
Yeah.
So like when I freaking hear it, I can't help it. And it happens a few times in Mortal Descent. The fire flickered faintly in the fog. Casting fingers of frigid whatever. You know what I mean? Like it just I can't help myself.
My Sherlock Hamster books that I'm gonna release the first one really soon. I've written 3, and I think in November I'm gonna write the 4th. But I like all of them. All the titles are alliterations, so I'm just gonna keep going with that theme.
With your Sherlock Hamster stuff, do you have you have cartoony villains, right?
Yes and no. Like it's for kids, but basically I wanted it to be like I wanted the villains to be more realistic, but not like, evil, if that makes sense. They're like legit bad guys, but basically I based it off of the old time radio shows like 1940s detective noirs. So it's basically like the Maltese Falcon for kids. So
That's
like the
fun.
bad guys are actually bad, and they're like, in the second book, he gets chased after, he gets in a car chase and they're shooting at him, and there's actually danger, but they aren't like,
It's like Scooby-Doo.
it's kid-friendly danger. I would say it's not quite Scooby-Doo, it's more like the animated Batman show.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm a fourth grade teacher here in China. So I read it to my kids, to some of my students for reading class, and they were like,
What they think?
They were basically like, teacher, publish it soon so we can buy it.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, okay, the target audience likes it. That's good.
That's some good feedback. Shut up and take our money is good feedback.
Yeah. The one of the kids, like my third book is Sherlock Hamster and the Haunted House Hullabaloo.
Yes.
And so one of the kids, he was like, it's too scary.
Oh, that's adorable.
Because I read the part where they're like in the old mansion, and he looks at this painting, and the painting rolls its eyes at him.
Oh, that's fun.
So
it's so scary.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
You can really play on that kind of stuff, and the fear of the unknown and stuff. Just classic human, wholesome fears.
The problem with this is like with this series is finding actual crimes, but ones that aren't ones that are kid friendly, if that makes sense. So like I have like people like theft and
I was gonna say stealing,
smuggling, but some of the other ones, like I'm not gonna have people murdering people in these books, but trying to think of other non-violent crimes.
Here's the first thing that jumped out at me. Some problems that kids have, like the other kid talked mean about me, right? On the playground, like the bully talked mean to me, and now I feel bad. You could have a politician spreading lies, or like somebody spreading lies about a politician, and it's almost like a mystery. So they're talking mean and making them feel bad. So, but it's like, it's not like killing people,
Yeah.
It's on the same level as stealing.
I'm pretty sure the next one I'm gonna go with is counterfeiting.
That's a good one. Kind of like stealing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I might do it for like fine art and call it like the museum mystery or something.
Yes. The museum mystery of mayhem of merchandise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sherlock Hamster and the Madcap Museum mystery.
Yes. There you go. You are a pantser. Who knew? What does it feel like talking to a dirty, dirty plotter?
Pretty normal, because a lot of people are plotters.
Yeah. I'm a normie. Oh no.
Yeah.
Here I am rejecting mainstream to go live my unlikely dreams as an indie, and I'm back in the normie pile.
Yeah, take that. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a normie. You can see things with your mind and hear things in your head.
Yeah. No, seriously, that's gonna be like kind of the future, man. You just wait. You just wait till feeling love. It makes you it makes you exotic. That's what I was trying to say. Like, feeling love makes you exotic. Having feelings, writing something, having an authentic human-made piece of art.
Yeah.
Basically, we're on our way to the zoo. Just a bunch of cyborgs walking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That reminds me of another book I'm working on. I was gonna make it as one big standalone. Then I was like, I'm just gonna release this as like I'm gonna write it as one big standalone, but just do it in 3 parts and release it as a trilogy.
Yeah.
So in this, it's like 3,000 years in the future, and the humans are all modified. So the actual humans in the story are called bios.
Good idea, bro.
So
yeah, like
so there's a couple of those, and they're just a lot of them are religious and don't believe in modding their body, but most people they have nanotech. So
yeah, because why wouldn't you after a certain point? After a certain point, why wouldn't you? But then once you reach that certain point, why would you? Because then the bios in this situation, like they're very special, they're rare.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and like one of the things, like they have like basically they're always connected to the internet. I call it the SNN feed, the subneural network.
Basically the Matrix. Internet.
Yeah, basically they're always connected to the internet, so they communicate by texting directly to each other's minds. A lot of times, things like that.
That's fun because you can just. Oh man, that makes dialogue interesting in your book.
Yeah. So usually I just basically write a lot of the dialogue in italics.
Yeah.
So this one is interesting though, because like I'm going with kind of a ghost in the machine angle. And the more like I've recently been studying a lot more like I'm a Christian, but I've been studying more of like ancient Christian languages and some of the more esoteric stuff with it. So I might tie some of that into the story, because the main story is basically the main idea is there's a galactic government, and they blew up and some planets blew up, and there's an investigator sent to investigate why that happened.
That's
and
awesome.
Basically later you find out the government's behind it.
Yeah.
And they're basically wanting to they're religious fanatics. They're like basically eco-Buddhist fanatics.
That's
and
fun.
So they're trying to send all of creation into nirvana.
Ooh.
So
and there's only one way to do that.
Yeah. So basically
yeah. Boom.
but basically they're trying to do it with keeping the planets and keeping nature, but not people as they are, if that makes sense.
Okay, people must go.
Yeah. So like in this world there's like whole disk planets, and like the spaceships have moss, and like the walls of the spaceships are like covered in moss and ferns and things like that. So it's like super naturey, but also in space. And there's like a huge one of the biggest black markets is what's it called? What's the like terraforming. They have like bioforming of animals, so they fit the like terraform planets. And so there's like cloud wells and things like that. And that's a huge black market. Like black market animals is one of the biggest black markets in the universe there.
I'm sensing it's one of your what if story seeds. It's like
pretty much.
Yeah, I like that. And you just keep elaborating on it because you're a pantser. So
pretty much.
You can get this crazy depth by just a little further, and then
I used to get kind of frustrated with people who had stories that go on forever, but then I'm like, This one I could actually like. There's a lot of things I could tie it into. Like, I could like make AI and like actually make some of the gods like that the people worship true, but they're like evil gods, and they're like using machines to as a form of getting worship and
Oh, yeah. No,
getting power.
that's kind of
So
good metaphor. Real quick, Katie, she says nothing wrong with using other cultures in your writing, which I agree with. Like, for example, the comic that is being published in Anvil magazine right now that I'm doing is very Viking influenced.
yeah.
And, I mean, even though I may look it, I don't think I have very much Viking ancestry in my blood. It's mostly like Welsh, Celtic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be that guy and be like, no,
I mean, y'all
that
got
should have.
invaded by the Vikings, so
Oh, we made great slaves. We were great slaves, sir. We were great. The Vikings, they coveted us. They coveted our women. They came, and then they came again, and then they stuck around, basically. Yeah. But yeah, so definitely good to look into real world history, and I mean, honestly, I'm a huge advocate for like diving headlong into those other cultures, and especially like your own culture, just like history in general,
yeah,
because just something that I even annoy myself from saying all the time is just like there's no better inspiration than real life.
yeah,
Like how, for example, like you can how are you going to get a better description of a beautiful forest than sitting in it and like
yeah,
listening and just describing what you're seeing and smelling,
yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think
Mhm.
there's so much interesting history in the world. Like I'm almost certain that Frank Herbert got inspiration for Dune from Tibet.
Yeah,
Because like
there's
where I live,
there's
there's like a lot of Tibetans make money by do you know cordyceps?
yes,
Uh so
yes.
there's a specific type of cordyceps fungus that grows just in the mountains of Tibet on the Tibetan plateau,
Hmm.
and it infects these groundworms.
It's a
And
worm. Okay, yeah.
yeah, so it's this kind of fungus that infects these groundworms, and it
Ooh.
sprouts from them. And these kind of worms only live in the Tibetan plateau,
Mhm.
and it for hundreds of years it's been like a super special Chinese medicine
Oh
delicacy.
wow,
It's like a wonder drug
wow,
for
dude.
Chinese medicine.
This
And
is
there's been like literal clan wars between Tibetans for like rights over who can
fungus.
get the worm fungus.
It's a good story seed right there, brother.
Yeah.
No, there's
So for
no
me, like when
inspiration
I
like
learned
real life.
that, I was like, "Oh, they probably got the idea for the spice from Dune from and
Yeah,
the worms from here in Tibet, like
and
just where I live, like
e-
right next to where I live."
for real. And then like even when you zoom out a little bit, you can even like from a broader perspective, just like oil, yeah, and even before that, like slaves and like gold, the
Mm.
things that run the world. Frank
Yep.
Herbert found a genius way to implement the perfect allegory for modern, right?
Yeah.
That is a modern audience. That is how you implement for a modern audience, where
Mm.
you're in this fantastical world or whatever, but in a realistic and tasteful way. You have implemented a way that people can cleverly relate,
Yeah.
like everybody, like that's why it works in his, because it's like the economic system. It's like the world government and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's resources. That's why it works.
Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
like I feel like you read Lord of the Rings, that's more for modern audiences
Yeah.
than, whatever woke Hollywood's coming out with at the moment,
Yeah. Because
because it's
yeah.
timeless and you can read it when you're 12 years old and read it when you're 40, and it'll still be just as fresh. So how to write for modern audiences is
Be timeless.
Yeah, exactly. Be timeless.
No, I can vouch for this from my career in music. All the bands that followed the tropes and the trends, like I can point out a few of the trends or whatever, but like you forget about them in a few years. Yeah,
Yeah.
insanely famous and popular for like a year, maybe
Yeah.
2. Maybe
Yeah.
they're still playing shows after the fact, but they're not quite as famous, that kind of thing. And it's because they dumped it all on that one-liner that everybody's doing because
Yeah.
whatever. They think it's cool, and then so everybody's like, "Did you hear that hook?" And then it's playing for a little bit until the next song with the cool hook comes out or whatever. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just if you build your product or your IP around a trend, then it dies with the trend. You can look at a lot of things like that just haven't aged well. Commercials,
Yeah.
good example.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
No,
some of
I
those.
think you talking about music is a really good example of that. Like, because I like a lot of the same music you do.
Yeah.
But you genting in a dark warehouse gets old very quickly.
Yeah. And
So
I appreciate the shout outs you've given me in the past with my music, dude. Because like I'm no longer, playing in an active band, but like the music's not going anywhere. That's still my voice, and I still wrote a lot of it. So like, and I still felt that way at that time. So like, I always appreciate when somebody gives it another spin and appreciates it. I went back and I was listening to the March Ahead and Bill Murray the other day with the wife, and every time it came on, she's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh, this is Johnny Frank again." She's like, "Oh," and we'd listen. And
yeah.
speaking of
I think
my wife,
Oh, I was gonna just
go
say,
on.
like, along with the writing, I think what Bill Murray's doing with the music, that's another good way of, making art for modern
Yeah,
audiences.
yeah,
You get you get influences from, you know, say, like he puts a lot of pop and even a little bit of country and stuff into his music,
hmm
and it's very modern, but like I listen to it and I'm like, wow, even on my second listen, I feel like I've grown up with this song
yeah,
because of he's just mixing all of the timeless elements in
yeah,
to make a new modern thing. So I think that's another way you can do it. And
yeah.
it still feels really fresh. And I think we as writers can do that as well.
And I agree. And when you're in the same room with Johnny, it's apparent that he's aware of that kind of stuff. Like, he's got a pretty old school family, and they're all pretty, religious and they have values. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And that includes music. So like, he's got like a nice wholesome family over there, and I think that stuff all carries over. Just like you can
mm,
hear the struggle in some struggling musicians. But here, just to keep up on time, Johnny's great. We could have a whole stream on him, but like
mm.
I am gonna catch up on some stuff that my wife said, and then we can kind of start working towards an outro here.
All
She
right.
back
So,
back when we were talking about real world influence, she wants to know if you go down long wormhole research rabbit holes like I do.
um, yes and no. So, not specifically for my books, but I'll just go like down just because I'm curious about something. I'll just research that and then it finds its way into my books, if
Yeah.
that makes any
No,
sense.
that's a beautiful way to write, and I kinda had a hunch that you did that, like, because you mentioned the Tibetan worms. You know a lot about that. You did a little bit of research about the worms at some point, and something tells
Mm.
me it wasn't when you were writing a story about worms. Something tells me
Yeah.
you weren't writing a story about worms. You
No.
were just
I
looking
have
it up.
With that
Yeah.
one, I have a friend who I worked with him for like a year or two here, and his major was basically ancient Chinese fortresses. So he was just a wealth of knowledge for really weird, small China details. So I just would listen to his stories and
Are you familiar with?
kind of follow his research.
I love friends like that, and it reminded me of this. You're familiar with Shad Brooks?
Yeah.
Shadiversity. So I have a friend. He's actually a phenomenal artist as well. His name's shoutouts to Josiah Letourneau, and his dad Tony Letourneau, Anthony Letourneau. Anybody can look up their art. Fantastic stuff. But he reminds me. The reason I like Shad, right, is because he reminds me so much of my friend Josiah. So like he's one of those friends that you mentioned who's just a wellspring of knowledge. He went to like college and stuff, and just a huge history nerd like me. And I could turn to him and just kind of ask him anything about, just any nerdy thing. Like, hey, this type of sword, why is it like that? Just like Shad almost, and if he doesn't know, I would know in a few minutes because he would be curious and look it up, and
Yeah.
I could ask him stuff about like Roman history. That's a big one. He knew a lot about like actual like the dry history. I'll call it the dry
Yeah.
history. You know what I mean? And it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
that's me with mountain lions. Mountain lions and parts, which is short for out of place artifacts, and weird history.
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That one apparently, apparently it was a farming calculator, analog farming calculator.
Apparently.
Yeah.
People will try to. Dude, did you see that thing? How could you even recreate that? You can't tell me with how old that thing is and how caked it was turned to stone. Like the whole thing is just like solid stone almost. It's like, okay, so you just recreated that and you're just gonna try to tell us different things of what it was. Like that's like the third or fourth thing I've heard people try to explain it as. Like some people are like, it's a perfect star calendar, and then others are like, it's a navigation device, and then others like it's actually an ancient computer, and it's like I don't. Maybe they're all a little right, but they're probably all a little wrong.
My thought is it's probably like a mixture of the three. It was probably like because I've heard most of those, so I'm like, my guess is it probably was basically it was like a device. It was basically a it was like a star calendar that they used to help know when the most optimum time to plant crops was, things like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating.
So
I was I don't know if it was Da Vinci. Excuse me, hold on. I don't know if it was Da Vinci or who it was. It was one of those big names that just didn't. It was a guest on a podcast I was listening to. He was talking about him, and it was just like this dude invented a whole bunch of shit with star navigation, and it's just like magic at the time. But without going down that rabbit hole, I'm gonna continue with the comments here. Katie says history's crazy because people are such liars. What's been left out and what is real or embellished? Yeah, how many tribes do we not even know about that existed? That is part of it. Like, I really like the ancient human theory where it's like just the summary of it, just like at the heart of it, you can look at the pyramids and realize that the way they were built was not written down anywhere. Who built it was not written down anywhere. All of that is assumed by modern archaeologists based on not even fully accurate translations that they don't fully understand. And they're just trying to point at a name that happens to be nearby, but it's not attributed to even the same type of stone that was around at the same time. And they can tell that from erosion and stuff like that. I digress. The ancient Egyptians found all that stuff there already, and I'm not saying they didn't build it. I'm saying they found it from even more ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of people will try to write you off right away when you start bringing this stuff up and say, oh, well, that's racist because you're saying that ancient Egyptians aren't capable of that. And I'm saying, no, they're very capable of that. And I'm saying even more ancient than that.
Yeah.
We're capable of it, you know. And it's
Yeah, I
fascinating.
mean, I need to double check, but if I remember correctly, like people don't know where ancient Egyptians came from because their genetic haplotype was different than everybody else's in the area. So
Yeah.
people aren't actually sure where Egyptians descended from.
And when you talk to the locals, they insist that they weren't slaves. Like the ancient Egyptians were not slaves. So like, I don't know. It's like if people found our skyscrapers in the future and were like they were built by slaves, and it's like, yeah, it's true to an extent, but they were paid slaves, you know. They volunteered
Yeah,
for that job. But anyway, I could have a whole stream on ancient stuff with you sometime, but like
sounds
we
good.
gotta keep the ball rolling a little bit here. Um, let's see, history's crazy. Yep. And then the Library of Alexandria. What was in it? What was in it? Thanks, Julius Caesar. You know, he was really proud of that too. I don't know why he would be so proud of that. What did he know? What was in there that he felt just it needed to burn? Like, was it
Well,
just
I
that much
mean,
hubris?
if you can control what people learn, you can control a people. So
Yeah, but
that's
like
my guess.
that's like on the edge of the world kind of back then. I get it because it's like a knowledge reservoir for the whole world, but like, God, dude, that's so dark, so dark. Just like destroy memory of the earth. Like, oof, yikes, dude.
Yeah,
And
I
then at the
mean,
same,
it's happening nowadays. Like we're just seeing it in a different way. So
yeah,
I mean,
100%. Attacking language is a good. We could go over all that too on another one, like language, literature, history, gaslighting current events. You could go on and on and on, and we definitely could, and we will in the future. Michael Harris, you are a recurring guest, along with Kahuna in the chat. I saw Pence show up. What up, Pence? Sorry for
hola.
saying hi late. I appreciate you showing up and listening. Katie also wanted to know, how are the worms, medicinal? How are they medicinal? The Tibetan
So
worms.
it's actually the cordyceps fungus inside the worms.
Yeah.
Uh, so they say it's like good for your, like it's good for blood pressure. It's good for like if you can't get it up, you know, and so
Ah,
there's a lot of things like that. So it's basically they say the fungus is like really good for your blood health overall.
yeah. The Tibetan boner wars.
Basically.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Anything.
just go to a mountain in Tibet and you just look very closely and you can see just little tiny bits of kind of blackness poking out, and then you pick it out and then it's a dead worm with a fungus sticking out of it.
Oh wow, dude,
And
that's
you
crazy.
just like you walk around in my city, like I have friends there, like they make thousands of renminbi, like thousands of Chinese bucks.
Yeah.
Every summer they can make 30,000 just by getting, you know, 2 or 3 barrels full.
Wow.
So
That'd
that
be
would
fun.
like 30,000 would be like almost 10,000 US bucks.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could pick like hundreds in a day.
Yeah.
So if you're covering
So,
hundreds in a day, thousands is a good amount of work. You know, you can get them all together before like the expiration date, so to speak, of them sitting in a barrel.
yep.
I'm sure that doesn't keep the longest or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, sell it off. It's not.
Kahuna's comment reminds me of the have you ever heard of the I forgot what it's called. I think it was the Golden Room from
Yes,
Russia.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
kind of reminds me of that.
it's German.
Makes you wonder where all that disappeared to.
Oh
Probably
wait,
some with some
is it a
wealthy
Russian
Nazi
golden
down
room
in
that was
Argentina.
is it a Russian golden room that was raided by the Nazis, or is it a German
Yeah,
golden?
Yeah, it was
Russian.
the Russian one.
Yeah, they would do that.
So
I just think of all those old cartoons and stuff where whenever they get inside the pyramids in Giza, it's always like solid gold and like ruins and stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those old cartoons where that happened, but
I
some
haven't.
I want to say I don't even know. Like I don't know if like Scooby Doo wound up in there in like the 70s or something. It would have been
Hmm.
like something like that, and there would have been a mummy, But
Yeah.
the hubris of archaeologists sometimes. I agree, C.A. Pence.
Hmm.
I know why they're doing what they're doing, but it's not fair for them to put put their lenses over like what they find.
Yeah.
Slaves built
I
this.
mean,
This was a
for
tomb.
the archaeologists, like I give them a little bit of leeway, but
They do.
because a lot of them are good and they
Yeah.
just want to look and say, "Oh, what do the ancient documents say?" But
And they
the
paid a
problem
lot of money
is,
for college.
yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are actually good, and I've known like a couple, you know, ancient researchers. But the problem is the people who are funding them are all ideologues.
Yeah.
So, and they also get some of the crappy ones mixed in.
And like I said, they paid a lot of money for college, which is an institution ingrained. There's been a lot of
Mm,
systemic talk, which, no matter what side of whatever side of the politics anybody takes, there is systemic problems.
yep.
It's just a thing, yeah, and I mean that's the messiness of democracy. If we're gonna be frank, like
Yeah.
when you're free,
Plus, like,
there's a little of everything.
especially with the college level, their
Hmm.
accreditation system, it's basically mafia.
Yeah, and then now it's less about merit and more about not merit, I'll just say.
Yeah.
But like Kahuna, he says like one of the four pillars of
Mhm.
Pompeii was given to Mussolini by Mussolini to the Japanese.
Yeah. The
So they have a
Japanese,
pillar.
there's have you seen the picture of a squad of samurai posing on the Egyptian Sphinx?
Oh wow. No.
Yeah, basically, I think it was like 1914 or something. Like they sent an envoy of samurai like to kind of make political relations around the world. And one of
Mhm.
the stops was in Egypt.
That's
So there's
beautiful.
an actual picture of like a squad of samurai with their swords just sitting on the paw
Beautiful.
of the Great Sphinx.
Beautiful. And then after all these years, that's still beautiful. And they're just hard styling in front of the pyramids, like they're just like what up,
Yeah, they're just
selfie?
kind of lounging badass
Yeah,
on
like
on the Sphinx.
Katie says, as long as the internet exists, we can't just erase billions of books, which is true. But
Mm,
when the internet doesn't exist, that also automatically happens, unfortunately, which get your
mm,
physical products, folks. That's why I updated my book cover. When people have this and it's gathering dust on your shelf, I want to be proud of it.
yeah. That's the one sad thing about being here in China is I don't have a physical copy of any of my books.
Oh, yeah. Is it because of
I could
Amazon?
probably do it, but I'll just wait till I visit America next time or something like that
Yeah.
to pick up
Yeah.
some physical copies of my books and bring them back with me.
Yeah, like save up a little and then like have a bunch of author copies sent to a PO box or something while you're over here and
Yeah.
just bring them all back. Yeah, because that's like just luggage. It's not like they're gonna like look at that and be like, "No, we're confiscating that." That's
Yeah.
we don't want that in our country.
Yep.
Yeah, I I doubt they'd do that. That'd be worth it. I know I'm looking forward to the day when I can just stock up on just a shitload of author copies. Oh, I
Mhm.
can't wait. I can't wait because I'm literally then gonna take them somewhere and just start pedaling them like back when I was playing music.
Mm.
But let's see.
Nice.
They're just talking about kahunas in the chat now. I think I'm finally catching up. I mean, there's sometimes politics drama between them too. There may be. Yeah, I think we're all
Yeah.
caught up. And Katie's calling me actually. One sec. Hello. Hey. Okay. Yep. All right. See you in a minute. All right. Yep. Time to wrap it up. Tell everybody where we can find you.
You can find me at Twitter. Let me see what my handle is, because the old one, you know, all that madness.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me see. I'll link it. M_Anthony Harris, all lowercase.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
Let
and
me
I have your
just link that. I'll send that to you, and you can put that in the chat.
for sure.
Do
you in the private chat here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And you can also find me at Amazon. I have some books elsewhere, some books that are Amazon only. Yeah. And Bandcamp as well. And I also have my own little Gilded server.
Yeah, I like your Gilded server. It's a nice chill little hangout. Can pop in there.
I need to add a little bit more. I need to do some more with it. It's been a crazy couple last weeks, so I haven't done almost anything with it, sadly.
Yeah.
But
next time we'll have to go a little bit more in depth in the writing process too, because I didn't even get to my other 6 outlines. So.
Yeah.
The best part is the pantsing that I do at the end when I'm actually writing it. So.
Yeah, my writing process is writing.
Mm-hmm. I kind of had that suspicion going in, and made me excited. It just means we'll have more to talk about next time. You know? It's been a busy month.
Yeah, this month has been not so good, but
yeah, same. But you get those. Okay, so Amazon link incoming. Right.
Should I share my music too?
Oh yeah, you got a minute while I'm copying and pasting, so have at it.
All right.
Here's the Amazon. Follow him on Twitter, Anthony Harris. He just dropped a new book. He's dropping books all the time. Anthony is a up and coming author. Keep an eye on him, especially in the Iron Age. Have you been featured in Anvil, or are you plan on submitting?
Not yet. I have a hard time writing short stories. So far, I've only written one.
Yeah. It might be worth looking into when you finally dabble in your first comic, like when you get a little ahead enough to get a good chunk, get a preview in there. You know, gives you a little time to finish it off. It's kind of what I'm doing. So I got all your stuff in the chat. Yeah. What was the most recent book you released, really quick, so people can
Red Skies. So it's a murder mystery action thriller set on a Zeppelin city.
Beautiful. Is that the one with the flying forests?
No, that one I'm hoping to release next year. The one with the flying forests.
Sneak peek. That just stuck out to me. Sorry, I'm gonna probably keep bringing it up like I do with John Douglas and the Sasquatch steak he owes me. He took down a Sasquatch and he owes me some ground Sasquatch beef. But
sounds good. I want in on that. I am the Yeti King after all.
Yeah, the Yeti King. Yeah. Well, I appreciate having you on, brother. For those listening, you can find me on Twix at A_C_Pritchard. You're going to want to go on and subscribe to my Substack before Halloween so you can get a jump on Spirit Animals, which is my free product dropping. That's acpritchard.substack.com. You can sub to the pub, which you're on right now. Like and subscribe. And you can find me on Amazon at amazon.com/author/AC_Pritchard. And thanks for everybody sticking around. I know we have these after hour shows and stuff, but it is what it is. You know, get that backlog in there. Can't wait till our next show, brother.
Me too.
Sometime in November, maybe December. Something like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Peace, everybody.
Adios.